Hi, I'm Paulette Mitchell, cookbook author and world traveler. Travel transforms us. It changes our perspective on the world and offers fresh new ideas. France teaches us about art, history, architecture, fashion, and the joie de vivre that exists here in France. Of course, it's no secret that food is also very important to the French. Join me as I wander down cobblestone streets and walk down grand boulevards in Paris, Nice, and Marseille as I savor the delicious flavors. Let's begin in Paris. Ooh la la, Paris, the city of light, proudly displays its charm. Beautiful architecture, marvelous monuments, sweeping boulevards, chic boutiques, and charming neighborhoods with vibrant food markets. This is one of my favorite cities in the world. Parisians are cordial. Sometimes they shake hands to greet one another. More often they kiss, not just once, but twice, or maybe 3 times for a good friend you haven't seen in a while. Tree-lined streets are home to many Parisians who live in beautiful, typically French apartment buildings. They have picturesque mansard roofs, dormers, chimneys, and wrought iron balconies. For me, seeing the Eiffel Tower is always a thrill. From a distance, the tower is graceful. Up close, it's massive. This is the most visited monument in the modern world. Originally planned to be a temporary structure, it was kept by popular demand. It's worth the wait to take the elevator to the top. A large crew of electricians, mechanics, plumbers, and painters keep the Eiffel Tower in tip-top condition. There are 2.5 million rivets in this structure and 10,000 light bulbs to illuminate it at night. You can ascend to the first 2 viewing levels by stairs, but it's faster to take the elevator. It's a breathtaking ride like no other in the world. Gustave Eiffel's design was a technological marvel of its time. Built with wind resistance in mind, even the strongest winds could never blow down the Eiffel Tower. You can clearly see that Paris is split in half by the Seine River, dividing the city into left and right banks. Paris was once a medieval city with tiny streets, but civic planner Baron Haussmann, who oversaw the city's modernization, had a master plan that included beautiful parks, strict rules on the style and height of buildings, and grand tree-lined boulevards. There's no doubt this is one of the most spectacular cities in the world. Riding the glass elevator slantwise upwards is exciting and just a little scary. The Eiffel Tower was built for Paris's World Exposition in 1889. It's 1,000 feet tall and for many years was the tallest structure in the world. It's really windy at the top, but what a view! Another important feature of Haussmann's city plan included monuments, such as the Arc de Triomphe at the intersection of major streets. There are no lane markings, and it appears to be a chaotic traffic scene, but there is a strategy. Vehicles entering the circle have the right-of-way. Cars in France are not as large as most we see in America. That makes it easier to park, and some French cars are electric. The streets hum with activity: cars, taxis, buses, scooters, and motorcycles. Bicycles are also a popular mode of transportation. There is even a public bicycle rental program with 750 automated rental stations and 20,000 bicycles, the largest system of its kind in the world. And people here also do a lot of walking. Paris's subway, called the Metropolitan or Metro, is the most efficient way to traverse the city. You're never more than a 10-minute walk from a metro station. There's always a map to help you find your way, and signs point you in the right direction. Be a part of the energy as Parisians move quickly beneath the busy city streets. Paris is home to some of the most important museums in the world. The Musée d'Orsay houses Europe's greatest collection of Impressionist works. The Musée Du Louvre, Europe's oldest museum, is the most visited museum in the world. It's also the grandest, with 12 miles of galleries and thousands of priceless paintings and sculptures. Before becoming a museum, the ornate U-shaped building was a palace for many French monarchs. Place de la Concorde, the largest city square, is occupied by a giant granite Egyptian obelisk, decorated with hieroglyphics, and the most famous fountain in Paris. Avenue des Champs-Élysées is the most famous of many magnificent 19th century boulevards. It runs from Place de la Concorde to the Arc de Triomphe. It's a wonderland of sidewalk cafes, glitzy nightclubs, designer shopping, and international people watching. Both locals and tourists enjoy the meticulously landscaped parks, especially Tuileries Gardens, the oldest park in Paris, and Luxembourg Gardens, the largest public park. The areas offer space for relaxation. Children play with rented wooden toy sailboats on the man-made ponds. Adults play chess or recline in the park's traditional green chairs. As you walk along the Seine, stop at the stalls of riverside vendors called Les Bouquinistes. There are 250 of these used booksellers, and they have been a Parisian fixture since the mid-1500s. The historic core of Paris centers on Ile de la Cité, the location of France's most famous church, the classic 14th century Gothic Notre Dame Cathedral. It's known for the pair of 220-foot bell towers, beautiful stained glass rose windows, magnificent flying buttresses, and wonderfully grotesque gargoyles. I just walked to the top of Montmartre. It looks like this is the best place to be on a beautiful Friday afternoon in Paris. Behind me is Sacré-Cœur, another important cathedral. The Roman Byzantine structure is known for its 5 domes and spectacular setting. Montmartre is the highest point in Paris, and the romantic city fans out at your feet. Riding down the Seine in a bateau mouche offers memorable views of monumental buildings. You pass under many of the dozens of bridges that cross the river. The most ornate is Pont d'Alexandre, with 4 pillars and splendid gilded statues. Paris is divided into 20 arrondissements, which are government jurisdictions. These districts are numbered, starting with number 1 at the Louvre and moving outward in a clockwise spiral to ring roads around the city. There is an open-air market in every arrondissement, both permanent markets and roving markets, set up only on particular days. Some simple, others decidedly gourmet. Parisians spend a lot of time thinking about and talking about food. Most people shop daily. The French place a high value on quality. Picture-perfect produce is ripe and the fish is fresh. Everything is sold to be eaten that day, probably within a matter of hours. This is serious shopping that takes time. No one seems to be rushed. Shoppers arrive without a list and let their 5 senses take over. This is Rue Mouffetard. It's one of the most picturesque cobblestone streets in all of Paris. The area is frequented by students of the Sorbonne, which isn't far away, and they come here for sidewalk cafes, restaurants, pastry shops, bakeries, as well as a beautiful produce market. Follow your nose to the aromatic ripe plums and apricots. The tomatoes are vibrant red, and so are the tasty cherries, juicy strawberries, fresh raspberries, and the sweet tart currants. In France, meals often include meat. The most popular are beef, pork, veal, and lamb.
This
Some markets
beachfront
sell
photo
rabbit
is about to
steak,
become part of an
horses,
unforgettable vacation.
carnivore's dream. Poultry includes chickens, as well as duck and quail. The local farm-fresh eggs have deep yellow, rich-flavored yolks. The small, energetic market at Place Maubert is in an upscale Parisian neighborhood, where the loyal clientele shop not only for culinary necessities, but also for specialty items, such as foie gras. This expensive, rich French delicacy is made from goose or duck livers. It is served chilled with thin buttered toast slices. I'm on the Rue de Seine in the 6th arrondissement. This is a small street market where the sophisticated customers quietly and patiently wait to pay for their purchases. There is no bargaining in French markets. Customers pay firmly set prices. Here's something I've never seen before: fresh almonds. These almonds are available for only a few weeks each year in the spring. The friendly vendor removes the fuzzy green skin to reveal the nut. Fresh almonds are eaten raw, and French cooks often add them to jars of homemade jam. Très bon! Rue Claire is a cobblestone pedestrian street in the 7th arrondissement in a residential part of Paris. The street is lined with an impressive array of specialty shops. This one features an abundance of fresh seafood, which arrives daily from the coast. The artisan bakeries offer freshly baked bread and tempting pastries. An épicerie is a little grocery store. Les Quatre Saisons specializes in organic produce. A fine mist keeps the greens fresh. My favorite shop on Rue Claire is La Fromagerie. The cheese vendor told me that there are so many varieties of French cheese that you could serve a different one every day of the year. French cheese may be made from the milk of cows, goats, or sheep. The texture may be soft or firm, and it's formed into many shapes. Of course, there is a French wine shop. Wine is a staple, even for everyday meals, and there are favorite wines for all budgets and occasions. Specialty shops are in every district of this gourmet city. Here's a well-known mustard and vinegar shop. Fancy shops satisfy your sweet tooth with fine chocolates. French candies are works of art. Even the lollipops are artistically displayed. A charcuterie, traditionally a butcher shop, is a French deli with prepared foods to go. Buy freshly baked French quiche or typical sandwiches, such as croque monsieur, or select pâtés, salami, ham, or French sausages. Some famous gourmet shops are pristine and elegant. Other simpler shops sell everyday staples. In France, even basic food is exceptional in its simplicity. One of my favorite meals here is roast chicken and potatoes. Another of the best things to eat in Paris, or France for that matter, is bread. Not ordinary bread. Perhaps a crusty French baguette, or artisan bread made with slow-rising natural yeast and baked in a wood-fired oven. I always wander down Rue du Cherche-Midi. That's where I satisfy my hunger at one of the best bakeries in the city. At Poilin Bakery, to see the baker in action, descend a winding stone staircase, its tread hollowed by 100 years of use. The room is a vaulted cellar of limestone, and the centerpiece is a wood-burning oven. The baker stokes the fire, and he uses a thin flat paddle at the end of a 10-foot-long handle to move baked goods in and out of the oven. As he transfers cookies, quiche, and loaves to cooling racks, mouth-watering aromas flood the room. This bakery is famous for the signature dark round loaves of sourdough bread, and I can never pass up a just-baked warm apple tartlet. Once you've walked into a Parisian pastry shop, it's hard to resist the temptations. A myriad of fresh fruit tarts, decadent, rich chocolate cakes, and melt-in-your-mouth Parisian macaroons. Each is meticulously prepared, and they're always displayed with style. There's a sidewalk cafe on nearly every block in Paris, and sitting at these cafes is an important part of social life here. Many of the famous cafes are located on the left bank, which is the center of intellectual and artistic life. This is Les Dimago, one of the best-known cafes on the left bank. It became famous because of the well-known people who used to come here. This was a favorite of Ernest Hemingway. The amount you pay is based on where you eat. Sitting at a table costs more than standing at the cafe bar. Outdoor tables are the most expensive. Coffee is the main focus, plus wine and beer, and there is a limited but hearty menu. Breakfast or petit déjeuner is a roll with butter and jam. Croissants are usually a weekend morning treat. For many, lunch is the main meal of the day. Restaurants, by government definition, have white tablecloths and an a la carte menu. For a quicker meal, small bistros are popular. Offerings are limited, as posted on the handwritten menu. Menu du jour is a fixed-price menu, usually 3 courses, entree, main dish, and dessert. For a speedy snack, crepes are as close as the French traditionally get to fast food. Sometimes they are served in restaurants, but most often at small street stands. The batter is cooked on a flat surface. Then the thin pancake is folded over a filling, which may be savory or sweet. The preparation is entertaining and the flavors are amazing.